Taking a break from your daily life can be fun, but it can also be a chance to further your education of the world. PBS's curious traveler Christine Van Blockland discussed some educational options with Paula Eben.
We're joined now by the host of the PBS show, Curious Traveler, Christine Van Blockland. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is wonderful.
Great to meet you. And for those of us who love to travel,
oh yeah,
this is great information. So we're talking about educational travel.
Yep.
And how, first of all, it attracts a lot of solo female travelers. How does educational travel work?
Well, for the trip that I just did, so first off, Curious Traveler is an educational travel show. So I'm always looking for companies maybe to work with or different trips and things to go on. The trip I just did is with a group, it's a not-for-profit group out of Boston called Road Scholar. Road Scholar. Now, they gear their trips towards ages 50 and up, but I'll talk about that in a second. So overall, whichever company you go with, the way that it works is, for this one, we had homework to begin with for the months leading up.
You got to study up a little bit.
You got to study up. They provide a really great reading list. Now, the book list was really long, and I was like, well, I'm not going to read all 10, so I picked 2 or 3. And for me, that was really wonderful, and it'll help you enhance your experience once you get there. And then once you're there, at least how my tour worked, you actually have professors, real professors. And I'm not putting down, a tour guide who's an actor, because sometimes that can be fun, but if you're really wanting the information on did Michelangelo really do that, or whatever the case may be, you want a real professor. And these were, older professors, and they've been doing this for decades.
So a lot of them art history professors?
Art history professors, or if you're interested in science, or if you're interested in military history, they're going to find the experts for you.
Right, and that's just going to make it more enjoyable.
It makes it more enjoyable because you know that you're actually getting the information correct from the source. And what I loved is, so it was almost like you were in a classroom to begin with in the morning.
Wow.
Whether that classroom was in the hotel or it was on site at the church or the museum. And then they brought what you just learned to life, because they said, this is actually where Michelangelo worked, or this is where Da Vinci actually walked, or that sort of thing. And you're like, oh, I'm here. It's bringing the textbook to life because you're there in the place where it happened.
Right. And instead of just wandering through a museum, reading guidebooks on your own, that sounds so much more exciting.
Yeah, and it really is wonderful, and you feel like you're sort of getting the insiders look at it, because it's people who actually live there, and you're guiding you through. And I thought that one of the funniest parts, so it's still fun.
Yes.
I want everybody to know that it's still fun. It was fun because at night, instead of homework assignments, when we would have dinner together, because we're all like art history nerds anyway, we're all going, oh, I didn't know this about Vasari. I didn't know this about that. Did you see that on the painting? Oh, it's amazing. And it's really kind of nice because you're traveling with people who are geeked out about the same things that you're excited.
You learn one of David's legs is longer than the other.
Correct, right? Or his toe is sticking out just over the edge for a reason.
Who's the audience for this? Is it mainly, you've got your junior year abroad students who are clearly students, or is it older people who are retired?
I'm so glad that you mentioned the year abroad. So for anybody who maybe did the semester abroad or year abroad, think of it that way, because I think sometimes it sort of gets this, which is fine, it sort of gets branded as, oh, that's just for retired people. It is great for retired people. It is great for people ages 50 and up, because hopefully, possibly, you have a little bit more time and you're able to go on these things and do what you want to do. Yeah. But I think it's great for every age. It's also great for multi-generational travel.
Yeah.
A parent wanting to show their son or daughter something really beautiful, really glorious, or say maybe even grandparents and their grandkids.
Intergenerational trips.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And even if you have young kids, it's a different sort of educational travel.
Right.
You're not going to really.
They don't feel like they're in school.
They don't feel like
even though they're
in school.
learning.
It's the best
so
field
much.
trip ever. Best field trip ever for whatever age.
Oh yeah, my parents always thought travel was the best education.
Absolutely.
Why do you think this has become such a big trend?
You may laugh at this. This is my theory, and I'm sticking to it. In our lives, no matter what, just because it is what it is, whether it's because we're Americans or it's just 2024, our lives are filled with so much fluff. Whether it's social media, reality shows, or what am I going to wear today, or am I going to be able to cook this foodie thing like what I saw on this? And that's just so in our brains all the time. I think an educational travel trip is kind of rehab for your brain. It's like this really great workout, but not so much for your body, but for your brain. And you can immerse yourself in something. And I keep saying Michelangelo because it just blew my mind, the things that I saw. Whether you're an art history nerd or you love science or you love history, it's you're going and seeing the thing that happened 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago. And you're kind of looking at it and you're immersing yourself in that instead of looking at a screen all the time.
So it is an immersive experience.
I felt that.
Why do you think there's such a huge attraction for the solo female traveler?
Well, it's kind of funny how these things sort of work together. So on this particular trip, I was a solo female traveler. It was a small group. I felt so welcomed into it. And I think it's because when you look at educational travel, like, oh, I'm just going to a classroom. When you went to university or, you went to school, of course you're going to a class by yourself. So it's just sort of this natural thing. I never felt like an outsider. Most of the people were either married couples or two women, female friends traveling together. But the few solo female travelers, we felt so welcome. And just a quick funny story, for work, for another assignment, I went on a cruise once by myself. I had people saying, are you okay? Are you by yourself? Where's your husband? Where's your kids? I'm like, it's all right. I'm just here to see the sights. I'm going to be okay. So to me, it was really kind of interesting. It was such a big difference. It was maybe it was because it was a big cruise ship. I don't know what it was, but I'm like, I can't be that weird.
It's kind of liberating.
Very liberating. It's very liberating.
You've given us slow travel tips in the past. What did you learn when you were in Florence, which is one of the most glorious cities in the world?
It really is one of the most glorious cities. And I keep saying this, obviously I'm an art history nerd. I'm sensing you are as well. So for me, I learned so much. We were there for a full week and we had the professors with us the whole time. But there was one particular thing, and it gives me shivers just thinking about it, and I'll never forget it. So Florence is known for being the birthplace of the Renaissance. We know that. We've got the Duomo, Brunelleschi's Duomo. And back to Michelangelo again. This particular professor took us, I think it was 3 different places, whether it was a museum or an old mansion or a church, and showed us the progression of how art changed from, in medieval art, the faces were very flat, kind of elongated. The progression between that and how with the Renaissance and the rediscovery of perspective, you see a face, not so much a flat thing, but like this beautiful sphere, which eventually culminates in the David. So to see the progression like that, because you can hear it and you can say, oh yeah, I know what the Renaissance is. I know that happened. But you see it where it happened and perhaps even where it was painted or chiseled. And to me, it just brought it to life.
Yeah, how the human mind changes over time.
Absolutely. It was incredible.
And the way we appreciate things. Where are you headed next?
Going to Poland for the Christmas markets. I'm sure you probably know the European Christmas markets are known for that. In Poland, they've got some really special ones, and I can't wait. And I'm going to buy all the Christmas presents for my family when I get there.
That's right.
I'm going to wait.
Isn't Poland like a 99.9% Catholic country? I think that's why the Christmas markets are so important. So interesting.
Yeah.
Well, great stuff, and a lot for people to think about as they're planning 2025 trips. Christine Van Blockland, thanks so much for coming in and sharing your trips with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.